Please like the video as you come in. Please hit the subscribe button as you come in. And please like the video as you come in. Thanks for being here. We're going to get to some hot topics, trending topics. We're going to talk about what's going on in the news. So thanks for tuning in to Let's Talk About It Media 21. Like, comment, and subscribe. So allow me a few moments to get my setup going, get my disclaimer going. I hope everyone's having a great Saturday. Like the video as you guys come in. Thank you for being here. Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comments, news reporting, teaching, scholarships and research. Fair use is used permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. All comments are alleged in our opinion and for entertainment purposes only. Thanks for being here. Like the video as you guys come in. Like the video as you guys come in. I appreciate everyone for being here. Thank you. We're going to get into some hot topics, trending topics. We're going to talk about what's going on in the world news, and what's being talked about. Okay. Let me see if I want to stay on here. I will do this. So let's get into some hot topics. Let's talk world news and what's going on. Hold on one second. Like the video as you guys come in. Like the video as you guys come in. Just give me a second. I'd rather pull up. He wants people to obey him. Interesting. Just give me a second. Give me a second. Okay, so let's get into hot topics, trending topics. Good morning. Thanks for being here, everyone. I appreciate everyone for tuning in. I appreciate everyone for being here. A lot of information has gone out, and we're going to get straight into the clip and talk about what's trending. So like the video as you guys come in, and thanks for being here.
With Eugene Daniels, Jackie Alamany is away on family leave. She will be back next week. We begin this morning, though, with Donald Trump's Justice Department. It's very busy on multiple fronts, settling scores and trying to tamp down scandals. The DOJ released a transcript and audio of the interview Trump's former criminal defense lawyer and now top DOJ official Todd Blanch conducted last month with convicted child sex trafficker Ghislaine Maxwell, the former associate of convicted sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein. And not surprisingly, she spoke highly of the man who said last month, quote, "I'm allowed to give her a pardon."
President Trump is always very cordial and very kind to me, and I just want to say that I admire his extraordinary achievement in becoming a president now, and I like him, and I've always liked him.
DOJ also released the first batch of Epstein documents to the House Oversight Committee after blowing past the deadline earlier in the week to release all the documents per a congressional subpoena. And then there is the stunning FBI searches yesterday at the Maryland home and Washington, D.C. office of former Trump National Security Advisor turned high-profile Trump critic John Bolton. There are still more questions than answers at this point as we await to see if the affidavit presented by the FBI to a magistrate judge outlining what they believe they would find at these locations ever sees the light of day. A source tells NBC News it's part of a, quote, national security investigation in search of classified records. And another source confirmed to NBC News that it was CIA Director John Ratcliffe who provided FBI Director Kash Patel with the intelligence that was the basis for the search warrant. This situation also has the appearance of a Justice Department exacting retribution on one of Trump's perceived enemies. The White House has denied that politics played any role in yesterday's actions. Joining us now are former Trump Homeland Security official Miles Taylor, Kimberly Atkins-Storr, MSNBC political analyst, columnist for the Boston Globe, and author of the Gavel newsletter about the U.S. Supreme Court, and former federal prosecutor Paul Butler, MSNBC legal analyst and Georgetown law professor. A lot of great minds on the show this morning. Thank you all very much for being here. Paul, the release of the Epstein files, I don't know. It all feels a little funky. You've got the audio where she's, oh, Trump, he's a wonderful man, and I'm so happy about his accomplishments. And folks are still going through. Am I wrong in really not trusting what's happening here?
You're right to be very suspicious. So we have this interview of Ghislaine Maxwell. Everybody except the American people have something to get out of that. She's trying to get out of prison. She's trying to get a pardon from the president, who apparently is open to that. She's interviewed by someone who purportedly is the representative of the Department of Justice, which means he represents us, the American people. He's also the president's former defense attorney. And when you read the transcript, that's what it sounds like. So we have this person who is a convicted child molester. Just that she aided and abetted Epstein, she also participated in the abuse. She groomed children. She told young girls, how are you doing in school? You get along with your parents, you want to go shopping? And she abused them. And she was charged with perjury. And she's saying, oh, Trump is a great guy. I love everything he did. I never saw him do anything. Now, should we believe that? She also said, just really quickly, that she had never seen young girls on Epstein's property. She said she had no idea whether he abused people. As far as she knew, he didn't. According to his indictment, he abused over 1,000 girls.
Wow. She's the one that didn't see anybody. I want to play some sound from Maxwell's interview for you, Kimberly, on the supposed friendship between Trump and Epstein. And there's photographs of, I think you're in some of the photographs as well. Those all appear to be social settings.
Yes, that's my memory. There were social settings. I don't know Epstein's, if he had, whatever the nature of the president's friendship, if you will, or however you want to define that with Epstein, I was never witness. I think they were friendly, like people are in social settings. I don't think they were close friends.
Close friends. Kimberly, one of the things that has been sticking out to a lot of people, and I wonder if you read this the same way, is when you're going through the transcript, and I'm not a lawyer, but it seems like there's like some leading questions from Mr. Blanch to Ghislaine Maxwell, especially when it comes to Donald Trump.
Yeah, this was not by any means a hard-hitting interview that seemed really determined to get to the bottom of information. It basically seemed that he was giving Ghislaine Maxwell every opportunity to help the president, given all the points that Paul just made, that it is deeply in her interest to do that. But at the same time, she's saying things that don't appear to just jive with the reality that we've seen. We've seen pictures of Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein hanging out socially. There are photographs of Epstein, Maxwell, Trump, and his wife Melania. There are photographs of them at parties and videos of them being more than just passing acquaintances in this. And so, again, with no credibility at all, somebody who has been charged with perjury, who has certainly an interest, who's already been moved to a more lower club fed in exchange. Exactly. She's gotten things in exchange. This is clearly transactional, and everything about the interview seemed transactional to me.
Yeah. It also, at least with the interview excerpts that we've heard and have been playing, it feels as though Todd Blanch has gone in there and had a checklist of things we need to talk about in order to mollify the MAGA base. And this one in particular, they actually talk about whether Epstein committed suicide.
So you
think he did not die by suicide, given all the things we just talked about?
I do not believe he died by suicide, no.
And do you believe that, do you have any speculation or view of who killed him?
No, I don't.
And I ask that because if you don't believe that there's any truth to the allegations of blackmail, or that he had kind of a list, or that he had reasons to have people hate him, why would somebody kill him in prison? line of questioning.
I bet they were hoping she was down with the program. So Bondi has put out that there's nothing to see here. Epstein committed suicide. Let's move on. A lot of people, not just in the MAGA world, but people who have common sense, think it's really bizarre that this person who's in this high security prison, who's notorious, who might have the goods and a whole lot of rich and powerful people, kills himself. So there are legitimate questions that Barr, who was Trump's attorney general at the time of the prosecution and death of Epstein, he had. There's 11 hours of security video that he said he reviewed. Now, this video doesn't show everybody who comes in and out of that area. So again, there are legitimate questions that Trump and his administration are trying to squash. They want us to move on. But this interview is one example of why we cannot move on until we get.
And they really started the questions to be clear. Like, right was strong on that this man didn't kill himself for a very long time until recently. But I was going to switch gears and bring you in here and talk about the Bolton, John Bolton's house. I want to play some sound for you, a former official in the administration, and get your response to the other side. This is
an ongoing investigation into John Bolton. I will say we're going to let that investigation proceed. What I can tell you is that unlike the Biden DOJ, the Biden FBI, our law enforcement agencies are going to be driven by law and not by politics. And so if we think that Ambassador Bolton has committed a crime, of course, eventually prosecutions will come. Classified documents are certainly part of it, but I think that there's a broad concern about Ambassador Bolton.
Is Ambassador Bolton being targeted because he's a critic of President Trump?
No, not at all.
Now, Miles, there's a lot here. There's a lot we don't know about what John Bolton is accused of doing. We don't know what documents the administration says that he has. So I don't want you to talk about that. What I'm most interested in is the wheeze that we heard from J.D. Vance in that interview. We're in the very early stages. We are investigating. We're going to be careful. We don't think that we should throw people. That's what we are doing. All of those things in the interview with our colleague, Kristen Welker. The Vice President of the United States should not be speaking in wheeze when talking about a Department of Justice investigation, or am I losing it?
You're not losing it. This is very, very unusual for the vice president to be this read into a criminal investigation that he should be at arm's length from. And then in the report that you all mentioned at the top of the hour, we heard that the CIA director himself might have been the one to provide the evidence to the FBI director. As more of these details come out, it's starting to look completely unprecedented that all of these very top senior officials that work under Donald Trump that know he wants to get revenge against John Bolton are personally involved in the investigation of John Bolton. But it wasn't just the wheeze that were concerning to me. I mean, the vice president's attestation that this had nothing to do with revenge was about as believable as what we were just talking about the administration has said on the Epstein files. Because it would be a truly extraordinary coincidence that they've decided to focus their investigative powers on a man that Donald Trump has wanted investigated for years. But it's not just that. In fact, by my count, there are at least 5 people who have written books critical of Donald Trump who in some way, shape, or form have come under federal investigation. Myself, Jonathan on this panel. Brennan James Comey, Alex Vindman. It's, quite an extraordinary coincidence if this has nothing to do with revenge.
Wow. Like the video, fair use, reaction clip. Like the video as you guys come in. Thanks for being here. Thanks for supporting the channel. Continue to hit the like button. Continue to hit the like button. Let's get the likes up, everyone. Thanks for being here. Don't forget to subscribe, okay? Don't forget to subscribe.
Released and what you can make of it. Joining me now is MSNBC legal correspondent Lisa Rubin, who's been going through the Maxwell interview. First, just your reaction to this being released and what you can make of it.
Well, let's go first to that interview or the clip, Chris, that you played with President Trump, because he hit on something that marks a divergence between what the Department of Justice told two courts that it wanted in releasing the grand jury transcripts and what it did here. When they moved before the courts to release grand jury transcripts from the Epstein and Maxwell cases, they said they were going to redact not only victim information, but other third-party information. And there's been tons of public reporting about the White House's concern, not only about the mention of Donald Trump, but about other individuals, including people he may be friendly with, that he thought would be unfairly tarred and feathered by an association with Jeffrey Epstein. And yet, Ghislaine Maxwell is perhaps the ultimate name dropper across these interviews. There is not a famous person at the period of time that's of interest to Todd Blanch, the late 90s, early 2000s, that isn't mentioned here. JFK Jr. is mentioned. Andrew Cuomo and Kerry Kennedy are mentioned. Presidents Clinton and Trump are mentioned, and on and on and on. And so to the extent that there is a concern about the way in which third parties here are maligned, it doesn't show up in how this interview has been released to the public. Because, for example, Ghislaine Maxwell details for Todd Blanch those people that she understood to be clients of Jeffrey Epstein's, meaning in his capacity as a financial advisor, and she describes what she understood those financial services to consist of. But overall, I think the biggest thing that I want you and your viewers to know that I took away from this is Ghislaine Maxwell is still the same person who was charged with perjury. She says things in this transcript that are demonstrably false based on trial evidence adduced at not only her criminal trial, but at a number of other civil proceedings. And she takes on a number of individuals who have been vindicated in their own right. And if I were them reading this tonight, I would think very hard about whether or not I now have, potential causes of action against Ghislaine Maxwell for defamation, given some of the things she says about them.
One of the things, just to your point on this that's such a great point, right, that we want to protect third parties, and then when we release this weird interview that Todd Blanch does that names third parties all over the place, including a dinosaur bone hunting trip with RFK Jr. That we find out. I was like, oh, that's what they call it. The judge, one of the judges who received that application for the disclosure of grand jury material says, this is U.S. District Judge Richard Berman, that the information contained in the Epstein grand jury transcripts pales in comparison to the Epstein investigation information materials in the hands of the Department of Justice, meaning like, you guys have this if you want it. This is, you're trying to sort of create a smokescreen here. But I also, to your point about her truthfulness, this is her explaining to Todd Blanch that Jeffrey Epstein liked to be around young women and girls because he liked to be exposed to music. Take a listen to this.
He liked being with younger people, and not just younger people, I'm just saying, because they gave him ideas and they were up to date on music, and
yeah, but that's
like, I'm just telling you what he was saying to me.
I mean, this is the kind of thing, this is the sort of attestation that we're getting from this individual.
Yes, and I have to say that's also a rare example of Todd Blanch pushing back.
It's like he only wants.
Yes, because most of the questions are specifically formulated to get the kinds of answers that he wants. I mean, in truth, over 10 hours of interviews, he could have started and finished with a series of questions about Donald Trump and what she knew about Donald Trump's interactions with Jeffrey Epstein and the young women in his orbit, and when she said it never happened in her sightline and she never heard anybody refer to it. Todd Blanch could have, clapped his hands together and said, okay, we're done here, thank you, because that's really what they wanted. In terms of her fabulism, though, the best example that I've seen so far is her saying that she thinks the photograph taken of Virginia Giuffre, who's maybe Epstein's most famous victim and unfortunately is now deceased, and Prince Andrew, she said that was a fake photo created by fake news. And then, when pressed about it, she essentially says, well, we all could have been together in the same room at the same time, but I never put them together for purposes of making a sexual connection between them. So she starts with this very bold claim and then kind of walks it back. And that happens multiple times in the course of this interview as well. All to say, take this interview with a grain of salt.
Lisa Rubin, thank you so much for joining us, and I appreciate it. Joining me now is Congressman Robert Garcia. He's the ranking member of the House Oversight Committee, which just today received the first batch of Epstein files from the DOJ.
You know what they should have had? She should have had a lie detector on her. She should have had a lie detector test on her. Let's continue. Fair use reaction clip.
Congressman, first, I'll ask you your response to the disclosure of the transcripts and the interview, and then we'll get to the files. But just in terms of this, do you have any assurance or knowledge that this is the full conversation, or there were parts of the conversation that we're not getting?
We're trying to actually find that out right now. And I think it's really important for people to remember that Ghislaine Maxwell is a sex trafficker of children, young girls, and women. She is a liar. She cannot be trusted. She wants a pardon or reduced sentence from Donald Trump. And the person conducting that interview was Donald Trump's former personal lawyer. Give me a break. We should believe nothing that this woman says. And it's also real interesting that a lot of Republicans today are somehow uplifting this interview as a moment of disclosure, when the Oversight Committee, Democrats and Republicans, have been asking for Ghislaine Maxwell to actually be deposed, to actually be in front of tough folks asking her real questions about the files, about her relationships. And that, of course, has been denied and pushed back by James Comer, because he doesn't want real questions being asked of Ghislaine Maxwell. Instead, they want to continue this cover-up where she essentially gets softball questions from Trump's Department of Justice, his personal lawyer, and then on top of all that, gets moved to a different facility, so she's in much softer conditions. So this release today, again, is to also distract from the broader question of why Pam Bondi and Donald Trump refused to release the full Epstein files.
So on that point, again, I always have a little bit of a hard time of understanding like what the universe of documents is that we're talking about. We call it the Epstein files. What is now being produced by the Department of Justice? And I'll ask you what I asked him. You're asking, like, should we believe any of this? Like, is this on the level or not?
Look, I think first, those are really fair questions. I think we have to start with the assumption that this Department of Justice cannot be trusted and works at the direction of the president. And we've got to just start with those basic facts. What we received today is about 33,000 pages of documents. We understand that it is a batch of documents, and there are significant more documents that have yet to be released. And remember, the bipartisan vote to actually get the full subpoena and documents was supposed to be all at once, already delivered, unredacted. That has failed and not yet happened, of course. And so what we got today, when I think it's important to note that there's a lot of reviews still happening, it appears a vast majority of the documents today are already in the public record. And so these are court transcripts, reports, already things that we already know. There may be some new information in there about some flight information or Jeffrey Epstein's plane. We're reviewing that, but it appears a vast majority is in the public record. So nothing substantially new that we know of yet. We'll review those still throughout the night and the weekend. And so we understand that right now Pam Bondi can send us the entire set of documents, but refuses to do so. But what the Trump administration doesn't understand, that as much as they want to hide this full release, we know there are also hundreds of FBI agents that have been working on this case, yet know or are aware of the collection of these documents. So if they think they're going to hide, redact, and keep this information from the American public, it will come out and the truth will come out.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like, they did the whole big binder thing where they brought an interesting crop of folks to the White House and they gave them all binders and everyone took selfies and they went home and they were like, oh, this has just been in the public record. There it is. It's been in the public record. Look at that. Just what a day that was. And it's all been in the public record. So, I guess they're going to just try that play twice, but like they could just all send it over to you. To your point, that was what the subpoena was, right? And they're doing it this way.
That's right. I mean, the subpoena was clear. All the documents right now, unredacted. They've already broken that. And Republicans, of course, and James Comer, they have no interest in actually holding the administration accountable. They want to create smoke and mirrors and divert attention from this, what is a real serious issue that the American public is interested in. So we will continue to push as soon as we do this complete review. Our intention is we want to make this tranche of documents available to the public. It is important that every piece of this is transparent and that the public and the media can review them for themselves, and we're going to continue to demand the full release.
Well, I don't know about you, but if Jeffrey Epstein's most notorious accomplice and convicted sex offender, Ghislaine Maxwell, says it's done and nothing to see here, then I'm content to move on. Congressman Robert Garcia, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Like the video. Fair use reaction clip. Yeah, they want many people to move on, but should people really move on? Are we getting all the information that we should be getting? Like the video as you guys come in. Like the video as you guys come in. Good morning, Anonymous. Thanks for being here.
Sounds like it's a horrible thing to say, but I might as well say it. 0 murders in the last week since we've done this. That's the first time in memory that that's happened. You can believe it, how pathetic that is to have to even say it. And I'm tired of listening to these people say how safe it was before we got here. It was unsafe. It was horrible. And Mayor Bowser better get her act straight or she won't be mayor very long because we'll take it over with the federal government running like it's supposed to be run. The numbers were horrible. It was a crime-infested rat hole. And they do have a lot of rats. We're getting rid of them too. And we made a lot of progress. And it was extremely unsafe and now it's extremely safe. We had virtually no crime. The number was down 87%, and I'm trying to figure out where was the 13% because I don't think it existed. The National Guard has been unbelievable, and they're working with the police, and they have some very good people in there. They have some people that shouldn't be police, actually, but they have some great people there. And the Washington, D.C. is a whole different place, and Johnny, I'm sure you'll be happy to hear that too, actually. Oh, yes. But it's a whole different place. People are excited again. They're going out to restaurants again. That was the other thing I saw numbers. That restaurant business is down in the last week. No. Restaurant business, you can't get into a restaurant. Just really lying people. And that's why people don't understand how bad and how dishonest the press is. I saw one poll that had us at 19% favorable on what we're doing with Washington. Then I saw another one that says it's 94% favorable. And I can tell you the 94% is correct. The others are fake, just fake news. They got to get their act together. So bad for our country. So sick, actually. So Washington, D.C. is really doing unbelievably well. And the Kennedy Center that we're fixing, I was just there all morning with contractors. We're making it unbelievable. It's going to be unbelievable. It's got great bones, but it needs a lot of work. The World Cup draw will set up the group stage of competition. 48 teams will play in 104 games across 16 North American cities, from Seattle to Vancouver to Atlanta to Miami. It'll be so exciting for our country. The 2026 FIFA World Cup will be one of the largest and most complex events. This will be one of the greatest events, one of the largest. In a way, it's like Johnny said it better. It's like having many Super Bowls in a short period of time. Because each one of these games essentially is a Super Bowl. Some of them are bigger than Super Bowls, actually. But they're essentially, each one of these games is like a Super Bowl. The 2026 FIFA World Cup will be the largest, most complex set of events in sports history. And the Kennedy Center will give it a phenomenal kickoff, and we'll be involved, and they'll be working over there for quite a bit of time. We have it all set that they can stay there for the big events, the big press conferences, and everything else. And they'll be in a very safe capital. That'll be nice. You don't have to worry about walking down the street, Johnny, okay? But you can handle yourself. Already FIFA is projecting 6 million loyal fans will attend the World Cup events next year, and 6 billion more are going to be watching back home. And they think the $6 billion number is going to be actually a low number. And this will drive more than $30 billion into the U.S. economy and create 185,000 American jobs in a short period of time. No sporting event attracts more attention, more fans, more viewers, or more revenue than the FIFA World Cup. And again, I'll just say it's the World Cup, and it's the biggest thing there is in sports, and we have it. And I got it in my first administration, and I was really somewhat devastated, as devastated as I can be. I don't have time to get too devastated. I was very happy that today, as you saw, the group that does this, a government group, radical left group, announced that Trump was right. Took in $4 trillion worth of tariffs, and the $4 trillion are going to reduce the deficit by numbers far greater than they ever expected or heard of. And by the way, the stock market went up 1,000 points. That was as of 10 minutes ago. I can't tell you what happened. A lot of things happened. But the stock market's up almost 1,000 points. And it's basically on the news that the release that just came out from government that the tariffs that everybody was talking about, that the whole world respects us for because of what we did. The tariffs.
Hold up. Our Paris is in the building. Hello, good morning, beautiful. How are you? We missed you. I hope all is well. Everyone say hello to our Paris.
It's going to be at $4 trillion. They're going to reduce the deficit by $4 trillion, Mr. Vice President.
Very good, sir.
Too bad it's not 5, right?
That's right.
It's had a huge impact, and the stock market is way up.
I lost 110 pounds.
Like the video, like the video.
Excess skin. So no barely change that.
Introducing the new Lift EX.
Fair use reaction clip. Like the video as you guys come in. Like the video as you guys come in. I was actually on vacation, Paris, this week, and my numbers, girl, is showing it. I got to get back to work, girl. They working me, Paris. But it was a good vacation. Like the video, like the video, like the video.
Had a huge impact, and the stock market is way up. But this will drive more than $30 billion in U.S. economy and create 185,000 American jobs. No sporting event attracts more attention or more fans or anything else. And I just look forward to the draw. So we're going to have the draw, essentially, Johnny, at the Kennedy Center. And by that time, it'll be in even better shape. We're working on it. It's about a year project to make it. It'll be great. It'll be fantastic. You see the way this is looking nice. I can't tell you how much that gold costs. A lot of money. There's nothing like gold, and there's nothing like solid gold. But with this beautiful office needed it. It had to be represented. When we took it over, it was dirty, not clean. I immediately changed the chair and had this beautiful desk renovated, brought out by the White House. People that do this, they did a great job. Send it out. We have a craftsman who's great. But this was not appropriate for the Oval Office when I took over. And now you look at all those paintings you're allowed to turn back. All of these are great presidents, and they were all in the vaults. They were in vaults for some cases much more than 100 years. And now they're proudly hanging on the Oval Office walls, and I can't imagine anybody changing it. But they were buried in vaults for over 100 years, many of them. So it's very exciting. People come in, they really love it. They love what we're doing here. They love what we're doing in D.C., and they love what we're doing, most importantly, in the country and the world. I'd like to ask Johnny to say a few words. He's the head of the whole thing. He's been there for a long time. Probably the most respected man in sports. He's amazing, actually.
Yeah, there's a lot going on.
The biggest event in the world coming right here to the United States. We did a little for Canada, we did a little for Mexico. We thought, see, I'm a good citizen. I said, let them have a little piece. So we gave a little to Canada, see how nice I am? And we gave a little bit to Mexico. And Johnny, please say a few words.
Thank you, President. Great honor for me to be here with you today, President, Vice President, Excellencies. Fantastic to announce what you said, which is the final draw of the FIFA World Cup on the 5th of December here in the capital. In the Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C. at 12 noon sharp. It will be broadcast live all over the world. 1 billion viewers will watch it. and will determine, of course, the match schedule, which 48 participating teams will play. You said it, 104 matches in 1 month, 104 Super Bowls. It's not just the biggest, the greatest event, not just a sports event, it's a social event as well. With a lot of emotion. We are uniting the world, Mr. President, uniting the world here in America. We are very proud of that. And those teams, those national teams who will come here to participate in this draw with their coaches, with their presidents, they will all be proud to be part of writing this history. And that's why we brought as well this, which is the winner's trophy. It is the trophy that the winner of the FIFA World Cup wins. Only the FIFA presidents of countries, and then those who win can touch it, because this is for winners only. And since you are a winner, of course, you can as well touch it. It's pretty heavy. It's the winner trophy. The last one who lifted that is Lionel Messi of Argentina. And here it is in the Oval Office in the White House.
Can I keep it?
What do you well, you can keep it.
We're not giving it back. That's serious.
It fits well.
It goes very well on the wall right over there. We'll put it right below the angels.
It fits well here.
That's beautiful. Yeah,
until we have to give it to the next winner.
That's fine. That's a beautiful piece of gold, I will say. That's beautiful.
Yeah. So 6 billion euros for the World Cup.
Justice Department is very busy on multiple fronts, settling scores and trying to tamp down scandals. The DOJ released a transcript and audio of the interview Trump's former criminal defense lawyer and now top DOJ official Todd Blanch conducted last month with convicted child sex trafficker Ghislaine Maxwell, the former associate of convicted sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein. And not surprisingly, she spoke highly of the man who said last month, quote, "I'm allowed to give her a pardon."
President Trump is always very cordial and very kind to me, and I just want to say that I admire his extraordinary achievement in becoming the president now, and I like him, and I've always liked him.
DOJ also released the first batch of Epstein documents to the House Oversight Committee after blowing past a deadline earlier in the week to release all the documents per a congressional subpoena. And then there is the stunning FBI searches yesterday at the Maryland home and Washington, D.C. office of former Trump National Security Advisor turned high-profile Trump critic John Bolton. There are still more questions than answers at this point as we await to see if the affidavit presented by the FBI to a magistrate judge
where the Justice Department has just released transcripts and audio from Epstein co-conspirator Ghislaine Maxwell with Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanch to House lawmakers. Again, there is audio. The audio is coming. We are trying to turn it. Joining us now, MSNBC legal analyst and former Assistant Manhattan District Attorney Catherine Christian. New York Times opinion columnist David French is with us as well. I will note the interesting timing in doing both the John Bolton search today and releasing 263 pages of Epstein, of the Ghislaine Maxwell interview. I'm going to just now, it's going to take a bit. I'm going to read the pertinent interview portions related to both President Clinton and President Trump between Todd Blanch and Ghislaine Maxwell. I will also note that sitting in on this interview was an FBI agent, which means, and it's a proffer agreement, so if Maxwell lied to Todd Blanch or others, she could be prosecuted, lying to an FBI agent, whether under oath.
So do y'all think she should have had a lie detector test on her? And they should have had 2 different lie detector, 3 different lie detector people on there? Like the video, fair use, reaction clip. Who is he saying get a job? I keep seeing that. I don't like people to be in the comments just saying stuff. I don't know who they're talking to because I know they're not talking to me. Like the video as y'all come in.
Or not is a federal crime. So bear with me. I'm going to read it as we try to turn this audio. This is on page 103, again, of these 263 pages. Shout out to Tom Winter for finding it so quickly. Todd Blanch asking Ghislaine Maxwell, do you know whether, for example, President Clinton ever received a massage? Ghislaine Maxwell, I don't believe he did. Todd Blanch, and what makes you say you don't believe he did? Ghislaine, well, because I don't. So that's a good question. The time that Epstein and President Clinton spent together, the only times I believe, well, obviously, they traveled. There was that, the plane. They went on the plane 26 times or whatever. That would be one journey. So they spent time on the plane together, and I don't believe there was ever a massage on the plane. So that would be the only time that I think President Clinton could have received a massage, and he didn't because I was there. Todd Blanch. And you mentioned that early in the very beginning of the conversation, you mentioned President Trump in the early 90s. Maxwell, yes. Blanch. What did you observe as far as President Trump and his relationship with you or Mr. Epstein? Maxwell, well, I just want to say for my relationship with President Trump, relationship's a big word, but I just want to say that I met him, or I believe I may have, because of my father in the 90s. Blanch, okay. So my father liked him very much. He was loved, really liked his wife as well because we were both Czechoslovakian. And as far as I'm concerned, President Trump was always very cordial and very kind to me. And I just want to say that I admire his extraordinary achievement in becoming the president. And I like him, and I've always liked him. So that is the sum and substance of my entire relationship with him. Blanch. What about Mr. Epstein's relationship with him, Maxwell? I don't know how they met. I don't know how they became friends. I certainly saw them together and remember the few times I observed them together, but they were friendly. I mean, they seemed friendly. Blanch. Was that in social settings or was that in private settings, Maxwell? I believe I only ever saw them in social settings. I don't recall any private settings. Blanch. Have you ever been to Mar-a-Lago in Palm Beach, Maxwell? I have. Blanch. In what time period are you thinking about when you say yes? By the way, these are pictures from Mar-a-Lago that we're showing on the screen right now. Maxwell, I don't remember when the president purchased Mar-a-Lago, so from whenever it turned into the club, I went there and I loved going there. Blanch, did you go there alone or with Mr. Epstein? Maxwell, mostly alone. Blanch, do you know where? Maxwell, and the times I went there, it was for an event, maybe once or twice. Blanch, and do you know whether Mr. Epstein ever went there? Maxwell, I believe he did. But again, he didn't take me with him all the time. So he would go, he did from time to time, but he would go alone. I think he would maybe go himself to the spa. I certainly did. Blanch, did you ever observe President Trump receiving a massage? Maxwell, never. Blanch, did you ever observe, you said that have you seen, there's photographs, public photographs of Mr. Epstein and President Trump together. Maxwell, yes. Blanch, and there's photographs, I think, you're in some of them, again, these are ones that we're showing. Maxwell, yes. Blanch, as well, those all appear to be social settings. Maxwell, yes. Todd Blanch, do you? Well, Maxwell interrupts. That's my memory. They were social settings. I don't know Epstein, if he had whatever the nature of the president's friendship, if you will, or however you want to define that with Epstein. I never witnessed. I think they were friendly like people are in social settings. I don't think they were close friends, or I certainly never witnessed the president in I don't recall ever seeing him in his house, for instance. I actually never saw the president in any type of massage setting. I never witnessed the president in any appropriate setting in any way. The president was never inappropriate with anybody. In the times that I was with him, he was a gentleman in all respects. Blanch, when's the last time you saw him in person, President Trump? Maxwell. It's been a long time. Probably not sometime in the beginning, mid-2000s maybe. And it would only have been a social setting as far as I can recall. Blanch, and did you ever hear Mr. Epstein or anybody say that President Trump had done anything inappropriate with masseuses or with anybody in your world? Maxwell, absolutely never in any context. Blanch, do you know whether 14 masseuses from Mar-a-Lago Spa ended up giving 15 massages? I'm sorry, take out those numbers. Do you know whether masseuses from Mar-a-Lago Spa ended up giving private massages to Mr. Epstein? I'm not asking for what you may have read, but at the time, from your personal knowledge, do you know whether that's true? Maxwell, I don't recall. Is it possible? Yes, but I don't remember. I don't remember that. So I don't recall that, but it's possible. Blanch, do you have a recollection of you ever recruiting a masseuse from Mar-a-Lago to give a private massage to Mr. Epstein? Maxwell, I never recruited a masseuse from Mar-a-Lago for that, as far as I remember. I can't ever recollect doing that. Blanch, okay, so what I think we should do now, it's about 12:15, we'll take a break, and we'll come back in a little bit. Maxwell, okay. Forgive me for the pauses in the reading. The conversation is broken in places, but that is the 2 pages that I think Tom Winter flagged as the most pertinent to the conversation that we've been having. Tom Winter joins us now, investigative correspondent for NBC News. Tom, what do you make of this?
So there's 22 references to Donald Trump on the first day, 3 references to him on the second day of the interview with Maxwell. I haven't read through all of the references to Trump. I highlighted the section where she's referred to in law enforcement circles, point blank asked, did you see that thing that people are talking about? You've just read there. It's a tricky read because the numbers are kind of combined with it. So that's why folks are trying to understand that at home. There's page number, specific line numbers associated with each one. So it can be a little bit tricky to read off the cuff. As far as this interview, it was conducted with a federal agent in the room, with an FBI special agent in the room. And Blanch, at the start of his interview, says, look, you know, you can tell us here today, we're just having a conversation. He starts out by saying, I'm not promising to send Judge Nathan a letter. That's the judge who oversaw Maxwell's case. She's no longer overseeing the case because she's been appointed to the appellate courts. And said, basically, you can talk about whatever you want. There's two big exceptions. The first one is there's an FBI agent in the room. There's other federal officials in the room. I'm a federal official. If you lie to us, you're on the hook. You can be prosecuted. So that was kind of a question going into this, which is, you know, if Blanch was in there by himself, technically she could be charged with perjury, but then he'd be a witness to it. It'd be a bit of a difficult scenario. So now there's others in there. So that there's a hold on that. And we focus on perjury with Maxwell for a reason. I'll get to that in a second. Second thing is that if for some reason she is retried, there's a overturn at the Supreme Court level, that this case somehow comes back, that if somebody were to say something specific to what she testified to, they could use that in a cross-examination scenario. So those are the two kind of caveats there. I know what you're about to read. I'll let you read it.
Well, I'm just curious.
Yes.
Have you, first of all, it's extraordinary to have this transcript, so I'm going to put that out there. I think it's extraordinary, you tell me if I'm wrong, for her to say this when she's asked about President Trump, for her to make a point of saying, I admire his extraordinary achievement in becoming the president now, and I like him, and I've always liked him. Please pardon me.
I didn't say that for the record, but I
don't think anyone's going to confuse her voice with Catherine's.
That's correct. Yes, or Catherine's acumen. As far as this goes, none of this is surprising. None of what she says in the very limited amount of time that we've had to read it is very surprising. The references to Trump, there are a number of other questions that Blanch asks about other well-known business figures. Bill Gates, for example, to be clear, she doesn't say that she ever saw Bill Gates doing anything inappropriate. He asks about other Silicon Valley type figures. There's no indication that there's any sort of impropriety there. It's 263 pages the first day. I haven't gone through it. It's not exhaustive. But yeah, look, if in any other normal circumstance, this interview would not happen the way that it happened, period. This is a scenario where, you know, what does she kind of get out of this? Because there's no initial indication that she's pointing to any new specific leads. And in the first part of the first day, former personal attorney for Donald Trump is asking questions about Donald Trump and his involvement.
And she is talking about how Donald Trump has done nothing wrong, and this is being put into the public sphere. It's something that Donald Trump can use.
Like the video, fair use reaction clip. If they didn't have a lie detector test, how can we believe anything she said? Sorry. If there was no lie detector test, how can we believe anything that was said? Real talk.
Get a look at documents that have been released by the Justice Department just a few minutes ago. This is the audio and the transcript from the jailhouse interview with Jeffrey Epstein's convicted accomplice, Ghislaine Maxwell. Justice correspondent David Spunt is going through all of this from Washington. We're just starting to get a look, reading through some of the introduction here. David, obviously it's early. There's a lot of documents and a lot of audio here, but what have you been able to see in these so far?
Well, in just a few minutes, Martha, we've been looking through this, and we can tell you the top line here is that there's no client list, according to Ghislaine Maxwell, and there are no high-powered individuals that were on any sort of list. She did not incriminate anybody in that 9-hour interview that she did with the Deputy Attorney General, Todd Blanch. She said right here, quote, "There is no list. We'll start with that. The genesis of that story I can actually trace for you is from its absolute inception, if that is what you're interested in." That's part of the DOJ transcript. Todd Blanch went down to meet with her in a highly unusual move last month down in Tallahassee, Florida, where she was serving that 20-year sentence at the time. Now she's been moved just outside of College Station, Texas. She was Jeffrey Epstein's longtime girlfriend. She was convicted of helping him sex traffic underage female victims. I've reached out to her attorney. I've not heard anything from the attorney yet, but she also said, quote, "I do not believe he died by suicide." The official finding was that Jeffrey Epstein died by suicide in his prison cell back in August of 2019 in Manhattan. She was charged a short time later. Again, she's serving a 20-year sentence. So Todd Blanch, Martha, goes down, talks to Ghislaine Maxwell, does a 2-day interview with her. This is all part of DOJ's transparency effort to get information about Epstein out there after the Justice Department earlier in July said that the investigation wouldn't yield anything else. It was closed. And there was major blowback toward President Trump, toward Attorney General Pam Bondi, FBI Director Kash Patel, and Deputy Director Dan Bongino, and others. It's interesting, and you can stop me if I'm talking too much here, but it is interesting. I noticed President Trump in the Oval Office, Martha, was just asked at another event, a FIFA soccer event about an hour and a half ago, about Epstein documents, and he commented on that, and he said, I told Pam, meaning Attorney General Bondi, and others to get as much information out as possible, but he said, I'm afraid that it might ruin some people's lives because anybody can be accused of anything. But really the top line here is Maxwell never had any type of client list of Jeffrey Epstein's, did not incriminate any high-power individuals. This coming from a well-placed source who's been briefed on this investigation. We're going through that as well. And then not to give our viewers too much information, but the Justice Department today actually handed over a bunch of Epstein-related documents to the House Oversight Committee as part of its investigation. And we know that James Comer just put out a statement, and he basically said that DOJ put out its first production of Epstein documents related to the subpoena, but that's going to take a long time before they put that out to the public because they have to get rid of any type of incriminating information, not incriminating information, any identifying information, I should say, of potential victims, Jeffrey Epstein or Ghislaine Maxwell victims, Martha.
Yeah, this is very interesting, David. Thank you very much, and we'll let you continue to pour through these. We're looking through these documents as we speak as well. Let's bring in Jim Trusty, former federal prosecutor, get his thoughts on the early release of this, or the early reaction to the release of this, I should say. Jim, welcome. It's Friday afternoon, heading into the last week of summer as we get this drop. Your reaction to it and what you've heard so far.
Yeah, I mean, all of it's really intriguing to me. I mean, again, the big picture is we don't normally look in prosecutors' files if there's not a trial. We kind of let the evidence play out after an indictment. We see what happens in a trial. Here we've got this kind of bizarro world, I think maybe fueled by special counsels where they write reports, where everyone feels like we're entitled because we care so much about Jeffrey Epstein to look at all the evidence and find out if there's other names. Well, the reason we don't share files, yeah, it's partly to protect victims, and in this case, young women that were molested, but we're also protecting people from essentially defamation or guilt by association when they've never had a chance to totally acquit themselves. So this whole world we're living in now, where it's like, let's do an interview and then put it out for the world to review on a Friday, is kind of odd to me. Now, the starting point was a pretty typical starting point for federal prosecutors, which is a proffered letter. It's not full immunity. It's basically saying, for our conversation today, Ms. Maxwell, as long as you're truthful with us, we'll never use any of your words against you in any sort of prosecution. Again, very unlikely that there's going to be a new prosecution of her. But that's kind of a typical thing. They call it Queen for the Day immunity. And that's what she received to get this conversation going in the first place. And, it seems like a lot of it's probably going to be kind of just a little bit self-serving opinions. Like, it doesn't really matter what Ms. Maxwell thinks about whether Epstein killed himself, but she wants to opine about it.
So why do you think they decided to release this? As we just mentioned by David Spine, the president was asked about this in the Oval Office when he was talking about FIFA and the upcoming events in 2026. And he said, well, I've asked Pam, the Attorney General, to put out whatever they can. And just going through this, there are names in here that have, to do with who her father did business with, and you can easily imagine people reporting, oh, well, this name and that name are in the Epstein file. But this is in sort of the groundwork that they're laying as they begin speaking with her about who her father, Robert Maxwell, a famous British publisher who's involved in a lot of businesses. So there are names in here that have nothing to do with the period, this is before she ever met Epstein. So I see what you're saying, James.
Yeah, I mean, that's troublesome, right? I mean, there's people that really didn't do anything wrong that are suddenly going to be in the spotlight. And that's just a kind of a strange scenario that we're finding ourselves in. As to why they released it, I mean, look, the grand jury materials, I think, were kind of properly protected by a judge who said, no, it's not enough just that the world's really excited and wants to know kind of scurrilous details about Epstein and Maxwell. The judge, I think, properly respected the statutory protections we have for grand jury materials. This one's kind of different. I mean, I almost wonder if the Deputy Attorney General basically talked to the attorneys and said, my intention is to release this publicly, and maybe she'll get some form of credit for that. And so we have to kind of wait and see a little bit whether the jail transfer made anything or if that was just coincidental. And then there is a vehicle for reducing sentences for cooperation called Rule 35 of the Federal Rules of Criminal Procedure. It's conceivable that they'd say this was somehow very helpful and we're going to try to reduce your sentence. I'm not banking on that, but there is an actual mechanism they could use if they wanted to.
Well, we know that the families of the young women who were part of the Ghislaine Maxwell trial have spoken out very strongly, saying that they hope there is no leniency given to her. But we'll see if that happens or not. It's interesting, at the beginning of this document, Jim, she talks a lot about the fact that she just wants to tell her story to the government. And she says all through this process, the government never interviewed me, never asked me any questions, and I've always wanted to tell them what I know.
Yeah, that's a two-way street, though. I mean, look, most of the time, particularly while Epstein was alive and pending a case, it would have made a lot of sense for her attorneys to come to the government and say, hey, she's in a position to help you out. and go down that route of being a cooperating defendant, where you don't get a free pass, but you don't end up getting 20 years. You get some sort of reduction for cooperation. That didn't seem to happen on her end either. I mean, there are circumstances where, as a prosecutor, you say, I'm not going to make a deal with the devil to go after a demon. You know, I'm not going to cut slack to this person because they're at the high end. And she's definitely a partner of Jeffrey Epstein. But I think that if her attorneys had made overtures to potentially cooperate, she would have had that opportunity to tell a story. And, you know, it didn't happen. I don't think she can quite blame the government for that.
Yeah, it also is coming out that she says that former President Clinton, he was on the plane with Jeffrey Epstein. I think we knew that. She says she never saw him getting a massage on the plane. You know, you think about how these things are going to be parsed and how carefully she may be phrasing some of these things, Jim?
Yeah, that's a red flag. I mean, you know, it's funny. When you talk about certain types of proffer sessions, when you meet with a cooperating defendant, I've had them with S13 members. And I'd rather almost have the shameless sociopath, somebody that'll sit there and tell you right to your face how they killed somebody, and not really have any sense of dissembling or rationalization, than somebody who's a little more sophisticated, like some of the white-collar type defendants. And the reality is, she seems like she might be quite capable of rationalizing, dissembling, being very precise to the point of perhaps being deceptive. So in any of these circumstances where you're talking to somebody with an incentive to please the government like she has, you have to be really careful that she's not kind of playing you for a tune and telling you some stuff that's just a little too self-serving.
So in terms of the government's ability to change her situation, she was already moved from, I guess, a rougher prison environment to something that is a little bit more moderate, a little bit more comfortable for her to live in, I guess. What could happen to her next? You know, given the fact that she was convicted by a jury, what's down the road here potentially?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's totally in the hands of the federal government. I mean, there's two options. Her attorney was kind of shooting for the stars and settling for the moon, saying, we'd be glad to get a pardon for President Trump. I don't know if that's in the cards. I don't think she's a particularly attractive candidate for a pardon or a commutation. But that Rule 35 I mentioned is a vehicle that can be used to reward cooperation. It's just normally the cooperation has to be a little more substantial than just feeding the press. It has to be something that helps you build a case or helps you, develop new targets. And again, too early to know what's in this whole series of transcripts, but it's not grabbing me that that's a likely outcome that would normally be a justification for some sort of benefit for.
Let's get the likes up, everyone. As you're commenting, please get the likes up. Let's get the likes to 50. If you're watching from a phone, press 1, or a tablet, press 1. Please double tap the screen to hit the like button. It's free. Let's get the likes up. And can I also get 128 people to hit the subscribe button? And thank you.
Or to reduce the sentence.
Yeah, I mean, that feels like the question, and you just put your finger on it. If it isn't information that is useful for a coming prosecution or a coming legal process, and it's just sort of to put it out there, it's hard to see what the leverage is for her in that.
Yeah, I mean, again, there's a lot of discretion. The judge has to approve of any sort of motion like this, and they usually do. You know, if a prosecutor says, hey, I know this person never testified, but they gave us some information that was helpful, gave us some leads, that usually will sell where a judge will consider a reduction, maybe not to the extent of a reduction that the prosecutor asked for. But here, we're just in this different territory of there is no pending case. We wanted to talk to her to kind of satiate the media beast and the people that are all dying to hear all these kind of, sexy details. And I don't know, doesn't grab me as something where she's necessarily going to be able to prevail upon Todd Blanch and company to give her a reduction in her sentence, even if that's entirely what drove her conversation.
Yeah, well, certainly her story has spilled out all over the place. There's about 6 or 8, I guess, audio tapes that have been released, and the entire transcripts of the conversation between Ghislaine Maxwell and Todd Blanch, and more attorneys on either side. You can see these headlines crossing on the bottom of our screen that are also found in this transcript. She said that President Trump was a gentleman in all respects. She said that she didn't remember seeing President Clinton on the island, although I reported earlier that she talked about him being on the plane. So all of these, as you say, Jim, sort of salacious details that will be gobbled up by the press as Ghislaine Maxwell finally gets the opportunity to tell her story. And it's very lengthy on the front end, I'll tell you. She goes into her whole psychology of her relationship with her father, and I guess there's some suggestion that maybe that set her up for a strange relationship with Jeffrey Epstein, and maybe that she's looking to build that as some sort of excuse for the things that she was convicted for. But we're continuing to dig in here. Jim, thank you very much. Good to have you with us today.
Yep. Good.
The department is also sending some of the Epstein files over to the House Oversight Committee today. Are you in support of them releasing all of them? If they wanted to release,
people shouldn't be heard, but I'm in support of keeping it totally open. I couldn't care less. You got a lot of people that could be mentioned in those files that don't deserve to be. People, because he knew everybody in Palm Beach. I don't know anything about that, but I have said to Pam and everybody else, give them everything you can give them, because it's a Democrat hoax. It's just a hoax. The whole Epstein thing is a Democrat hoax. So we had the greatest 6 months, 7 months in the history of the presidency, and the Democrats don't know what to do, so they keep bringing up that stuff. But it affected them. Bill Clinton was on his plane and went to the island supposedly 28 times. I don't want to bring that up, frankly. You have Larry, whatever his name is, Summers, the head of Harvard, who was Jeffrey Epstein's best friend. Nobody ever talks about that. But I don't want to hurt Larry Summers, but he was best friends with Jeffrey Epstein. No, this is a Democratic hoax to try and get the significance of what we've done over the past 7 months. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. They say it's #1 in history. What we've done, including stopping 7 wars. Just include that. And now you look at the stock market today. It's way up to start off with, from where I took it. And this market was going to crash. If Joe Biden or Kamala were president, this market we would have had a crash like in 1929. You're not going to have that. It's only a question of how high is it going to go. I had the strongest economy in the history of our country, and despite COVID, we had the strongest economy in the history of our country, and we're going to blow it away this time. I was always good at making a lot of money. And whether it was for myself or whether I like doing it this way better. I like making it for the country. Our country's been ripped off by friend and foe, nations all over the world ripped off, and the friends have been much worse than the foes for the most part. And they're not ripping us off. We just signed a deal with the European Union. They're paying us essentially $950 billion, like a signing fee. They're going to buy $750 billion worth of energy. They weren't buying much of our energy there. And they're very smart in doing it. And as you know, Ursula was here a couple of days ago having to do with the people, the leaders that we had agreed. People said they'd never seen anything like it. Well, we had the leaders of Europe right here in the Oval Office. And she's so happy that she has an agreement. But people aren't ripping us anymore. We're run by, this country is run by smart people now.
First breaking tonight, Jeffrey Epstein's sidekick, Ghislaine Maxwell, says she never witnessed then businessman Donald Trump receive a massage aboard Epstein's jet. She says he was a gentleman in all respects at all times. Tonight we're getting a first look at the transcripts from her 2 days of interviews with the #2 official at the Justice Department. Today's release came without any warning. Senior national correspondent Rich Edson has been looking through the documents all afternoon. Good evening, Rich.
Good evening, Jillian. The Justice Department unexpectedly released audio and transcripts covering about 9 hours of interviews with Ghislaine Maxwell. The conversation with Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanch covered Jeffrey Epstein's death and his relationships with Presidents Trump and Clinton. Maxwell said this about Trump's behavior.
I never saw the president in any type of massage setting. I never witnessed the president in any inappropriate setting in any way. The president was never inappropriate with anybody. In the times that I was with him, he was a gentleman in all respects.
Now, the Epstein associate told Blanche she thought Trump and Epstein were friendly, but were not close. She says the photographs of Epstein and Trump together were from social settings. As for another president's relationship with Epstein,
you're not aware of President Clinton ever going to the island?
He absolutely never went, and I can be sure of that because there's no way he could have gone.
Earlier today, Trump repeated his claim that Clinton had been to the Caribbean retreat more than a dozen times. The department previously determined Epstein committed suicide in 2019 in jail, but Maxwell thinks otherwise.
I do not believe he died by suicide.
And do you believe that, do you have any speculation or view of who killed him?
No, I don't.
She also says that claims Epstein worked for American or foreign intelligence services are nonsense, and she denied Epstein kept a client list. Maxwell is serving 20 years in federal prison for convictions on sex trafficking and other crimes related to Epstein's sexual abuse of underage teens. She is actively seeking clemency from the Supreme Court. After her discussion with Blanche, prison officials moved Maxwell to a lower security penitentiary in Texas. The administration has been under pressure to release all the government's documents related to the Epstein case. This afternoon, the Justice Department separately delivered more Epstein documents to the House Oversight Committee to comply with a congressional subpoena. Maxwell has maintained her innocence. Prosecutors allege she was properly convicted of recruiting vulnerable teenage girls, grooming, and abusing them. Jillian?
All right, Rich Edson with those details for us tonight. Thank you.
All right, now let's broaden this conversation out. Joining me to do so is former CIA analyst Buck Sexton, a nationally syndicated radio host with the Clay Travis and Buck Sexton Show, and nationally syndicated political reporter Selena Zito. Also, we have with us Fox News contributor Jason Chaffetz. Let's take what we've heard so far, Buck, and tell me what you make of what she has to say about President Trump, about the client list, about Bill Clinton.
Well, I think she's largely affirming what is already known and not really advancing the knowledge of the case at all, which is unsurprising if you look at the motivations that she would have at this point. But first, in terms of what is known and solidifying what is known, President Trump did absolutely nothing wrong. There's no evidence, there's no indication, there's nothing whatsoever to suggest that President Trump ever did anything wrong with regard to all of this. So many of us have known that from just the case files and everything going back for quite some time. But she vociferously and repeatedly goes to that. Okay, so people can put that aside now. I mean, I don't know how much more is going to be necessary for that to become. Look, there are people who will hate Trump and try to lie about him no matter what. But I think that's affirmed now in a way that we can move beyond it. She also says, essentially, nobody else did anything wrong. She didn't see any, meaning other than Jeffrey Epstein, she didn't see any criminal conduct that Jeffrey Epstein even did herself.
There is no blacklist. Now, that's always been a shorthand, and people talk about a blacklist. What they really mean is people who were blackmailed. But Will, as I was going through the transcripts, she says there was no blackmail. She also says, at all, of anyone, she also says that the money was made through high-stakes financial deals. What? There's some things here that just still don't add up, and I think we need further clarification on some of the points that she made, and I think that maybe that will be forthcoming from the DOJ.
So you're absolutely right, Buck. I think there are very legitimate questions about Ghislaine Maxwell's motivations and credibility. And in just a moment, we're going to be getting more into those deeper issues that accompany questions about blackmail and international or domestic intelligence. But let's stick with the names for just one more moment. Jason, I want to read to you now. We're working on ingesting this audio. This all just dropped about 1 hour and 10 minutes ago. But I want to read you now from page 265 of the interrogation from Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanch. He asks Ghislaine Maxwell, and you're not, I think you said, you're not aware of President Clinton ever going to the island. To that, Ghislaine Maxwell says he never, absolutely never went to the island. And on that note, Jason, there have been a lot of questions. Obviously, the political focus has been of late on President Trump. We've heard Ghislaine Maxwell on Jeffrey Epstein's relationship with President Trump, but there remain a lot of questions about his relationship with Bill Clinton.
Like the video as you guys come in.
Person in Ghislaine Maxwell that knows a lot about Epstein, that he has, erectile dysfunction, but, plays the part of Sergeant Schultz and can't recall anything that anybody did any wrong. That list may not be written down on some nice, cute spreadsheet, but it's in her head. And I wish they would just ask her the simple question. Well, then the people who visited the island start writing down a list.
Right.
If you're going to get limited immunity, you better start coming up with a list. And, you can verify whether or not President Clinton went to the island. Go ask the Secret Service. There's a reason. The Secret Service is secretive, but they're also law enforcement. And if there was a commission of a crime, they still need to answer questions. They shouldn't be bashful about asking them. And I think they should go to that direction. But I don't buy what she's selling at this point. She is highly motivated to say whatever she needs to say in order to get out earlier. But come on, there's 2 people that went to jail. Only one of them is still alive. And there's nobody else that did anything wrong. And you can't come up with anybody else who did. What were these young women doing going to the island? Playing hopscotch? Getting lessons on how to sing or play the violin? Come on, there's a lot more here.
Okay, and here's another big question. We'll go to you on this, Selena. The question that everyone has been asking for several years. Did Jeffrey Epstein commit suicide? She was asked this, again, by Todd Blanch. Here's that exchange. So you think he was? He did not die by suicide, given all the things we've just talked about. Maxwell responds, I do not believe he died by suicide. No. What do you make of that, Selena?
Well, I'm not surprised by that answer. This is someone that believes that they knew him well, probably knew him better than anyone else. So for her to make that assumption, that's not surprising. You hear that from people all the time when they lose someone to suicide. That I can't believe they did that. This is her version of saying that. So that doesn't shock me. The other thing I think is important to note, and the woman's name escapes me, but the reporter from Miami who had done such great reporting on Epstein has said all along that there never was a list. And so she kind of reinforced that. Now, to her other things that she said, that nothing, untoward had happened, well, she's just protecting herself, right? But in that moment, she's in that bubble of self-preservation.
The idea that there would be a list does defy common sense for any common criminal. Why would you maintain your own evidentiary criminality? But to Jason Chaffetz's point, that doesn't mean there aren't clients. Just because there might not be a list doesn't mean there are not clients. And Ghislaine Maxwell could be put to the test on naming the names, creating the list after the fact of people that she saw on the plane, Buck, or at the island. And again, we're digging through this virtually in real time. I'm not seeing that here. I'm not even seeing Ghislaine Maxwell pressed on one of the names of these clients.
Yes, if you were to take Ghislaine Maxwell at her word here, and I think all of us, you, Will, and the rest of the esteemed panel are looking at this like, come on, we understand that there's likely a lot being held back or outright falsehood at this point, although it'd be tough to prove some of those falsehoods. It depends. This is, I think, a moment where we have to ask, hold on a second. If she's unmotivated here to tell the truth, what are we going to get out of this? And I think that that's where you have to see other aspects of this trial coming together, because she's telling us that essentially the only criminality that occurred here was Jeffrey Epstein's, that he hid, that even she, who was so close to him, didn't know about. It's just not credible. It's just not credible. That part of it, I think, is where it most obviously falls apart. And as for the list or the possible blackmail list, again, I think this is a little bit, the terminology has become a stumbling block here. It's, to your point, Will, clients, people who were involved with Epstein, who were giving him fantastic sums of money and other things, and we don't really understand, still to this day, he was involved in getting like large sums of money. How? What exactly was he doing? This is all traceable. This should all be trackable. I want to know how Epstein made the money that he did. I want to know what the transactions are he was involved in. And that should all be something that the Treasury Department, the FBI can get access to, because in the meantime, what we're left with is Ghislaine Maxwell effectively downplaying this whole thing. Yeah, he was a pedophile. He hid it from everybody. Nobody else was involved.
Like the video, like the video. There's about 126 in the building. Please hit the subscribe button. Everyone, we should be at 100 likes. Please double tap that screen to hit the like button. It's free, free, free. The likes should match the views. Let's please get the likes up. It helps with the algorithm. If you're watching from a phone, press 1. Let's get the likes up so we can continue. Please double tap that screen. Thank you. Let's get the likes up. 100 people to double tap that screen, and thank you. 100 people to please double tap that screen to hit the like, and thank you. Or hit the thumbs up above the video, below the video. Thank you. Let's get the likes up. We're at 20 likes. The likes should match the views. Let's get the likes up. And thank you. Appreciate it.
No proof of anything else. There's no blackmail. There's no foreign intelligence tie. Oh, wow. That just brings it all together with a bow for her, doesn't it? She probably wants to get out early. So I think that we have more digging to do. I think the DOJ transparency effort here is the right thing. But the reason it's on a Friday, Will, is I think there are no smoking guns. There's other places we have to look.
Well, Buck, you appropriately pushed the conversation to the deeper and more important conversation. The existence of a client list or salacious names who may have had relationships with Jeffrey Epstein in some ways has been a distraction to the deeper story of who was Jeffrey Epstein and who were the people around him, like Ghislaine Maxwell. Who is Ghislaine Maxwell? For that matter, who is her father, Ron Maxwell? Well, this all came up in this interview.
All right, it's time to bring in our panel. We've got Fox News contributor Mark Thiessen, Real Clear Politics White House correspondent Phil Wegman, and Democratic strategist Megan Hayes. Great to have all of you with us here on set tonight. Mark, let's start with this. Take a listen to Ghislaine Maxwell talking to Todd Blanch about former President Bill Clinton.
I think you said you're not aware of President Clinton ever going to Ireland.
He absolutely never went, and I can be sure of that because there's no way he would have gone. I don't believe there's any way that he would have gone to the island had I not been there.
Like the video, like the video. Fair use. Continue to hit the like button, you guys. Let's get the likes up. Can I get 50 people to double tap that screen or hit the thumbs up above the video, below the video? There's about 105 people. If you did not hit subscribe, please hit the subscribe button and thank you. We're trying to hit 50K by next month. Let's continue. Fair use reaction clip.
I mean, to listen to her speak on these audio tapes, you would think she's Mother Teresa.
I know.
Nobody she knows has ever even thought anything inappropriate.
Yeah. So she says there's no client list. There is a client list. I know there's a client list. You know how I know there's a client list? It's in her head. She was the pimp. She was the one who procured the girls. She was the one who was his connection to all the wealthy people. No one went to the island without her permission or without her recruiting them. She knows every child who was abused. She knows every person who did it. I remember, in the old legal shows when you interrogate somebody, you take a legal pad and a pen and say, write down your statement. Somebody should give her a legal pad and say, write down the list. She's got it in her head.
Megan, the big question today is why on earth they are talking to her now. Blanche asked her some questions about President Trump. Take a listen to this clip of one of her answers.
I actually never saw the president in any type of massage setting. I never witnessed the president in any inappropriate setting in any way. The president was never inappropriate with anybody. In the times that I was with him, he was a gentleman in all respects.
I mean, I am in the camp that everyone should be held accountable, from Democrats, Republicans, the people who manage the money. All of the people should be held accountable. There is absolutely no reason that she should not be the only person in jail for this. There are hundreds and hundreds of victims, and to your point, she knows who the victims are. She also knows who the perpetrators are. There needs to be more accountability being held. So if that's releasing more files, if that is more interviews, and that's what needs to be happening. This is disgusting that we have let this go on so long, and there is literally only one person in jail for it.
In a way, Phil, this effort undertaken by the Trump administration to bring transparency to this has given this woman a platform to defend herself, to defend her disgraced associates, to defend the horrible things that they did for decades.
And despite that lovely British accent, Ghislaine Maxwell is a monster. She's a self-motivated monster because right now she wants a pardon. I'm not surprised during this interview that she went out of her way not to make any new political enemies, but I doubt that the public is going to take at face value anything she says, and I don't think that this is going to get rid of the scandal around this. Some of the claims that she made, to Mark's point about there not being a list, or even the claim that there were no recordings that she saw, just aren't true. For instance, we already know that Epstein's New York mansion was wired and there were cameras everywhere, so I doubt that this is the end of anything.
Well, there was some other big news today. We could talk about this for the whole panel, but I want to get you guys to respond to the FBI raid on former National Security Advisor John Bolton's home. took course, and his offices took course over, a few hours this morning and afternoon. What do you make of that?
So one thing that no one ever has accused John Bolton of is being stupid. He might not like him, you might not agree with him, you might think that he betrayed Donald Trump, but he's not dumb. So I would be surprised if he had classified documents lying around in his house, or by the Corvette in the garage, or something like that. On the other hand, the FBI can't simply raid somebody's house willy-nilly because Kash Patel says they should. You got to go to a court. You got to go to a judge and get a warrant, and you have to show probable cause that you're going to find something. So there's got to be something that has that told the judge, yes, you can go and do this. And it's real simple. Either John Bolton did something wrong and he has things he shouldn't have and information that he shouldn't have in his home, or he didn't, and one of them is going to be in trouble.
Named down, but neither is, former President Biden, former Vice President Mike Pence, President Trump himself, all who have mishandled classified information in various settings. Would you be surprised if the FBI hauled documents out of there that we are ultimately going to see were classified?
I would be surprised, especially at this point. His book has already come out. That is what this is about. This is political retribution here. And I think the really unfortunate thing is there are people who break laws who deserve to have, and every piece of, when the DOJ is weaponized and the FBI is weaponized, that just sows mistrust more in our government and more in our prosecution of these different institutions. And that's really I think the biggest unfortunate thing that happened today.
What was your take, Phil?
The president says that this is nonpartisan, that this is just law and order. And for proof in the Oval Office today, he said, look at some of my other enemies. They're just fine. But the impression among the president's supporters, and one that I think FBI Director Kash Patel fed into with that cryptic post on Twitter, is that this is cosmic karma, that this is John Bolton getting what he deserves for betraying the president. And in their mind, this isn't the crossing of a Rubicon after the raid on Mar-a-Lago, after Steve Bannon went to jail. The one thing that I think we do know right now, though, to your point, a judge signed off on this, and then my sources inside and outside of the administration, they say that this is about much more than the book. They say that there's actually some there. So we'll have to wait and see.
We did hear earlier today that, from Chris Swecker, from Jonathan Turley, that the bar here, the legal bar for executing this warrant and this search is pretty high, to Phil's point. This is not just about something that was printed, years ago in a book.
Yes, and there was an investigation under the Biden administration that was stopped. So they claim that they're resurrecting that investigation, and there's got to be, you can't just barge in, the constitutional standard is the FBI can't just barge into your home and search for things because they think there might be something there if they don't have any evidence. You have to go to a judge, you have to get probable cause, or else you can't do it.
Megan, last word to you.
I think that's all true, and I think that is definitely fair. But I do think when the director of the FBI and the attorney general start tweeting things out at the exact same time this house is being raided, it makes people believe that it is a political attack, and it makes it feel very much like retribution from the president.
There were a lot of tweets about Donald Trump's 91 indictments and multiple civil suits and 2 impeachments.
Not at the exact same time. Not at the exact same time that his house was being raided.
Panel, got to leave it there. Thanks for joining us tonight. Great talk.
Hey, Sean Hannity here.
Like the video, fair use, reaction clip. Let me know how y'all feel about all that's going on. Like the video. Thanks for being here, everyone. Like the video as you guys come in.
I had this whole new confidence level that I've never had before.
Like the video as you guys come in. Thanks for being here, everyone. Don't forget, if you didn't hit the subscribe button, please hit the subscribe button.
The first one is a conversation about President Trump. That is the president being referred to in this first excerpt.
I've never saw the president in any type of massage setting. I never witnessed the president in any inappropriate setting in any way. The president was never inappropriate with anybody. In the times that I was with him, he was a gentleman in all respects.
The second part of the audio from the transcript of that Todd Blanch, Deputy Attorney General, interview with Ghislaine Maxwell, it's a discussion about whether or not Ghislaine Maxwell believes Jeffrey Epstein committed suicide while in custody. So you think he did not die by suicide, given all the things we just talked about?
I do not believe he died by suicide.
And do you believe that, do you have any speculation or view of who killed him?
No, I don't.
And this third and final part of the transcript in audio deals with what Ghislaine Maxwell does or doesn't know about Jeffrey Epstein and former President Bill Clinton. Do you know whether, for example, President Clinton ever received a massage?
I don't believe he did.
And what makes you say you don't believe he did?
Well, because I don't. So that's a good question. The time that Epstein and President Clinton spent together, the only times I believe, well, obviously they travelled. There was that, they went on the plane 26 times or whatever. That would be one journey. So they spent time on the plane together, and I don't believe there was ever a massage on the plane. So that would have been the only time that I think that President Clinton could have even received a massage, and he didn't, because I was there.
So, Jake, there are, what, about 250 plus pages in the transcript of the 300 plus, actually, over 2 days. And Ghislaine Maxwell, based on my quick reading of the transcripts, and please correct me if I'm wrong, comes off as someone who was around lots of things, but saw and knows practically nothing.
That's certainly how she paints herself, and I think we should remind our audience she had a lot to gain from this 9-hour-plus conversation with Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanch. To lose, seeing she was in a maximum security prison, had already been found guilty, had been sentenced already, and this was giving, she recognizes off the bat of the interview that she was being given a chance to finally speak, which had been her attorney's framing of this all along, and you hear her say it in her own words, that through all of these numerous investigations into Jeffrey Epstein, she says nobody from the FBI, nobody from Florida law enforcement, nobody from New York law enforcement came to talk to her. And she paints this picture that leaves out, obviously, a criminal conviction and found guilty of facts that she had assisted him in years long of grooming and sexually assaulting women.
And plenty of prosecutors believe they developed independently from her evidence to that effect.
Exactly, and I'm sure her legal team at the time recommended that she not talk to the prosecutor.
And in trial, she did not testify.
Exactly. I think we should, when you take a step back from this, that's certainly very clear. We know what happened, as you pointed out in your open, of what resulted after this interview. Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanch promises nothing. He makes that clear, and yet she was moved to a lower security prison. This is part of the Trump administration's efforts to clear the air, find out more information. I don't know how much new information really was found here outside of hearing from somebody who was intimately involved, but yet does not acknowledge specifics of many instances. A lot of the conversations around the victims are redacted, and we knew that going into this. The documents that were sent from the Department of Justice to a House committee today are going to be redacted as well in terms of specific victims and who was involved surrounding their recruitment and what happened to them. She answered the questions, as her attorney points out. There was no time where she doesn't, but at the same time, she's not exactly giving the full picture when she's only talking about how they spoke, flew on the plane together, and that's the only time, or the only time she was with President Trump was in a social situation. Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanch had to prod her on specific names at times and bring up names one by one, and many of her answers, again, this is years later, but still were very rambling, moving between the alleged list to her family life and what happened to her since then, moving to the suicide, to Jeffrey Epstein's health problems, and then to obviously a central core of this, which was their sexual relationship that then she says became more of a financial agreement, which was paid at first $25,000 a year to help him with things around his mansions, to then $250,000 a year to do everything from obviously participate in his grooming and assault scheme, but then to also be part of kind of a general manager of numerous properties, including the island, including mansions and things like that.
Very quickly, Jake, remind our audience of who Todd Blanch was before he became Deputy Attorney General. Why this makes this particular interview unusual.
Todd Blanch was a defense attorney who represented President Trump in that New York fraud, not just the fraud trial, but I should say the hush money case that he was so controversially in going down the stretch of the election over a year ago.
The president's personal attorney.
And not just in that capacity, but a vocal interviewer, a media personality going out to defend him in the hallways when the whole world felt like it was watching going down the stretch of the election. Todd Blanch was the person that stood day by day, side by side next to President Trump.
Jake Rosen, I appreciate it very much. Thank you. CBS News legal contributor Caroline Polisi joins me now. Caroline, thank you so much for joining us. What is your 30,000-foot evaluation of this interview and what the audio and the transcripts reveal or suggest?
Yeah, nothing surprising to me here, Major. You know, both parties to this deposition understood the assignment, as it were. Todd Blanch, what did he want out of this interview? He wanted who basically the American public believes is the only person on earth, apparently, who can attest to the fact that President Trump had nothing to do with Epstein and his crimes. In fact, she testified that he was always a perfect gentleman. Nothing untoward happened in her presence. And he also wanted to get on the record that there was no client list. Remember, there's been such an uproar surrounding whether Pam Bondi and the DOJ would be releasing this client list, and then they said they would, and then they said that there wasn't a client list. So he got those two facts on the record. And what did she want? Her lawyer has made no, has not been.
There's about 119 in the building. Please hit the subscribe button. Please hit the subscribe button. We're trying to hit 50K by next month. Please hit the subscribe button and thank you. Continue to hit the like button and thank you. Let's continue. Fair use, reaction clip.
Shy about the fact that he's very interested in getting a pardon for Maxwell. There is also several appeals pending, one of which is going up to the Supreme Court. And you know, after this, as you guys have both pointed out, she was transferred immediately to a much lower security prison, which we call Fed in my line of work. Okay, it's a very nice facility. And so both parties got what they wanted to out of this. This is a highly unusual way to go about doing things. Todd Blanch, you asked who he was. He also was a former United States Attorney, Assistant United States Attorney for the Southern District of New York. So he understands how these things work. It's very unusual for the Deputy Attorney General to conduct interviews like this. Typically, you would have a line prosecutor, but in this case, there is no real point to this interview, I think, other than getting on the record what DOJ and Todd Blanch wants to get on the record for satiating sort of the American public's desire to have closure and finality in this space.
Caroline, based on your experience, was this a vigorous interrogation, and how do you think victims will read what they see or hear?
It certainly was not a vigorous interrogation, and both parties clearly had been vetted. Both parties understood that this was being video recorded, that it would be released subsequently to the general public. You'll notice Todd Blanch's questioning, the way he phrases his questions, are very specific, such as not to elicit specific instances or specific types of testimony from Maxwell. Maxwell, as you noted, has a very spotty memory, as it were. She admitted to absolutely no wrongdoing in this interview. She had very bad memory problems, although she never specifically, denied specific actions. She just said, she couldn't recall things. And so, she has very little liability for perjury charges there. But, no, this was not a rigorous investigation. This was not a rigorous deposition. It was wide-ranging. It was sort of all over the place. But again, I think both parties got what they wanted. This wasn't a real search for discovering anything new about Epstein's just horrific crimes. And I think the victims will likely be very disappointed.
Yeah, because if they didn't have a lie detector on her, a lie detector test, how do we know she's even telling the truth about anything? First off, let's continue. Fair use reaction clip. Like the video as you guys come in. Like the video as you guys come in. Like the video as you guys come in. Thanks for being here, everyone. Don't forget, please hit the subscribe button. We're trying to hit 50K by next month. Please hit the subscribe button. Continue to hit the like button. Thank you. Let's continue. Fair use reaction clip. Many people are calling this interview out.
Anybody off the street and they're like, hey.
Stand by, Katie. I want to bring in the great Glenn Kirshner, who's joining us. Glenn Kirshner, American attorney, former U.S. Army prosecutor, and a former assistant U.S. attorney in the Office of the United States, attorney for the District of Columbia, and a former NBC News and MSNBC legal analyst. Welcome to the program. First to Katie, and then I'll get your response. Katie, should he just come out and say, do you think Donald Trump had a hit out? You know what I'm saying? That's what it sounded like to me. He was trying to ask. I don't know.
It just goes how it's so, and hi to Glenn Kirshner, one of my favorite people. Look, it just goes to show how absolutely inartful the questions were. It's like you could have picked anybody off the street and been like, hey, this is Ghislaine. Ghislaine, this is Joe. Joe, go ahead and ask her some questions. There was no purpose. When you are a lawyer, you don't even have to be prosecutor, but when you're a lawyer and you have this golden opportunity to be able to obtain information that hasn't been obtained in decades, why would you not actually just pointedly say, did this person do this? Or the way that you phrase the questions are really important too, right? But when she says, he didn't die by suicide, well, heck, according to the DOJ itself, he died by suicide. So why didn't you actually probe her and say, well, actually, Ms. Maxwell, we conducted an investigation where we looked at the video surveillance, allegedly, and even though it's been doctored and put together, surveillance doesn't show anybody going in there. So you're actually wrong about that, aren't you? No, we're just going to take what she says as gospel. Thank you that we worshiped at the Church of Ghislaine Maxwell and then walk away with it because it's self-serving to help Donald Trump.
Glenn?
So, Don, this whole thing is a charade. It is an exercise designed to exonerate and protect Donald Trump. I wouldn't expect for a minute that Todd Blanch, Donald Trump's former criminal defense attorney, and as Katie well knows, he now is the keeper of Donald Trump's criminal secrets that he came into during that representation, and he is duty-bound to continue to protect Donald Trump's criminal secrets because that attorney-client privilege survives the termination of the attorney-client relationship. There was only one person who should have been in that cell or that secure interview room interviewing Ghislaine Maxwell. That is Maureen Comey. She is the lead prosecutor on the case. She is the one who would know instantly whether Ghislaine Maxwell was telling the truth or lying about anything because she's the one familiar with all of the evidence. I have only heard just a little snippet of it. I actually just finished my daily video on the John Bolton search warrants of all things. We'll talk about that. And that was a distraction from the Trump Epstein Maxwell scandal. But this whole thing is a charade. Nothing Ghislaine Maxwell says or declines to say should be credited at all.
What do you think, Glenn, he was trying to get at that question? Because I was saying, just come out and ask her what you're beating around the bush.
Yeah, what was the question? You've got to read me in a little bit.
No, I want you to hear. I want to just play a little bit of the interview. I mean, a little bit of what we just played, because I want Glenn to hear it again. Let's hear it.
So you think he did not die by suicide, given all the things we just talked about?
I do not believe he died by suicide.
And do you believe that? Do you have any speculation or view of who killed him?
No, I don't.
And I ask that because if you don't believe that there's any truth to the allegations of blackmail or that he had kind of a list or that he had reasons to have people hate him, why would somebody kill him in prison?
Look, in prison, where I am, they will kill you, or they will pay, somebody can pay a prisoner to kill you for $25 worth of commissary is outgoing rate for a hit with a log today.
So that goes to the third reason, which is kind of the shortfallings or shortcomings of the Bureau of Prisons.
Yes.
Which is a little bit different than what my question is, which is, do you think there was somebody on the outside of prison, so putting aside what could happen on the inside, on the outside of prison, who wanted him dead so badly that he would have, or she would have, caused him to be killed on the inside?
I think I don't see that. I think it's possible, but I don't know that
Glenn, what is he trying to get at there?
This is a meandering mess of a custodial interrogation just based on the little clip I heard. I don't know what he's trying to get at, and I question the tactical wisdom of asking a witness who has already said, I don't know. He's like, well, can you speculate? Not really. What about somebody on the outside? I've already said I don't know. I wouldn't read too much into the questions, but what I would offer is that this is a horrible way to go about questioning a witness. And, I don't know what his background, his training, his experience is, but, I will fall back on this whole thing is ultimately an exercise in staying away from the danger zone, anything that could perhaps come back to haunt Donald Trump.
Hey,
Yeah, go ahead, Katie.
Sorry, if the viewers can see on the screen, if you look at line 10 right there, so that's how you read the transcript, right? So it's the page and it's the lines. You see line 10, 11. Do you have any speculation or view of who killed him? Or Ghislaine Maxwell? I know I don't. Let me tell you something, Dawn. Lawyer 101, when we teach trial skills, and Glenn knows this, doesn't make a difference if you're a civil lawyer or a criminal lawyer. That would have been an objection in court. Objection, Your Honor, calls for speculation. Speculation is it could have been Santa Claus that came in and killed Jeffrey Epstein. Nobody wants to hear that. And what he's trying to do is he was struggling, Dawn, to lead her down the primrose path for her to say, absolutely not, the guy died because nobody else would ever want to kill him from externally. But she didn't get it because she's just too dumb to get that point. And so he just kept on trying, and it just kept on getting more and more mangled, to Glenn's point.
Yeah, I wasn't sure where he was going there. I'm like, is he trying to ask her, is he trying to get her to exonerate Donald Trump? Because what Jeffrey Epstein's brother has been saying, that he believes it wouldn't be out of the realm of possibilities that Donald Trump, this is according to him, not me, this is what he said publicly, that Donald Trump had something to do with it.
And,
if he is sitting there, if Todd Blanch has seen the Epstein files, so I would imagine he knows what's in the Epstein files. So I'm just wondering if he's trying to get her to say something that exonerates Trump, or I don't know, for some reason, because I don't know what the reason is, but something tells me there's something in there that they know that they don't ever want to release, and they somehow want what she says to become the record. You know what I mean?
Yeah, let me just say, first of all, I'm so happy to be with my friend and former on-air MSNBC partner at, 6 a.m. and 7 a.m. on Saturdays and Sundays, real primetime viewing there. But Katie and I used to double team on the Justice Front, and it was such great fun. But listen, speculation, Don, is poison to a good professional law enforcement investigation and prosecution. Do you know the first thing I do when I sit down with somebody that I am going to debrief? I said, don't speculate about anything, and don't only tell me what you think I want to hear.
There's about 124 in the building. Please hit the subscribe button. We're trying to hit 50K by next month. Please hit the subscribe button. If all 122 hit the subscribe button, today will be a great day. Please hit the subscribe button, and thank you. All 122, please subscribe and thank you. Let's continue fair use. Continue to hit the like button. Double tap the screen for me, please. Please double tap the screen or hit the thumbs up above the video or below the video. Thank you.
Because you think it will make me happy, or it will forward the investigative ball against somebody I'm prosecuting, because I need the truth, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And if you don't give it to me, there's going to be hell to pay. Don't lie and don't speculate. This is a buffoonish little clip of questioning that we're hearing. And Jeffrey Epstein's brother's speculation, frankly, is no better than Ghislaine Maxwell's speculation or anybody else's speculation. Law enforcement, both FBI and DOJ prosecutors, we deal in fact. We deal in what we can prove. We don't start asking witnesses to speculate about stuff.
This is the one about, is there a black book? Is there a black book or a list of people
Epstein list, as they say. Here it is.
These are so cute.
Like the video, like the video. Fair use reaction clip. Let's let the ad go past. Please hit the subscribe button and thank you. Please hit the subscribe button. Continue to hit the like, you guys. Thank you. Let's continue.
Here it is. During the time that you were with Mr. Epstein, and even in the 2000s when you were around less frequently, you never observed or you never saw any sort of list or black book or a list of individuals who linked to certain masseuses or anything like that?
Absolutely no. There is no list.
There is no list. Glenn, why are you laughing?
Because I'm going to go back to Katie's point from a few minutes ago. I just heard Todd Blanch say, "You never saw a black book, did you?"
Yeah.
I mean, that is such a leading question. You are signaling the answer you're looking for, and she gave it to him. Mind you, she was indicted on 2 counts of perjury previously for protecting Jeffrey Epstein and herself. You think she's not going to protect Donald Trump and anybody else? Don, the reporting is there were more than 1,000 children, young girls, abused by Maxwell and Epstein, but there were no clients.
If she admits that there was a list, then she'll claim fault. So of course she's going to say there's no list. Like the video, like the video. Thanks for being here, everyone. Continue to hit the subscribe button, you guys. We're almost at our goal. If 121 people hit the subscribe button, we'll hit the goal for today. Let's continue fair use reaction clip.
There were no Johns. There was no one else involved in abusing these young girls that, Maxwell found and groomed and handed over to Epstein to be sexually assaulted and abused. And we all know, we've heard the reporting about Maxwell being a hands-on perpetrator herself. Come on now. And then Todd Blanch is feeding her the answers she wants. You never saw a black book, did you? You ask open-ended questions. You don't suggest the answer you're looking for.
Yeah, Katie, what do you think? There is no black book, there is no list, but there are names that she can give.
Of course there are, and that's why the Epstein files, look, when we're dealing with evidence in the legal sense, and even just in the common parlance of senses, when we're looking at evidence, we want to go to the source documents, right? So if somebody says, I've got 10 grand in the bank, what are you going to ask for, Don? Let me see your bank statements, right? Same thing here. If you go to the Epstein files proper, themselves, that's going to be the source documents upon which allegedly Ghislaine Maxwell is relying upon, right? But here's the thing. Throughout the entirety of this meeting and interview, and I don't even call it an interview, it's really, like I said, they're just hanging out together. She never implicates herself in anything. Isn't that so convenient?
Yeah.
And the reason why we know this whole thing is a charade, and I love that word that Glenn uses, is the following. I'm going to go to the very beginning of this meeting that they had. And at the beginning, Todd Blanch makes it clear that she has been given immunity. But then he says to her, there is an exception, the most meaningful one of which is if you say something today that's not true, that's a lie, we can bring a prosecution against you for what's called false statements. I'm a federal officer. I have several officers here. The FBI is here. It's a crime, so you have to be truthful. We know for a fact that this woman has lied in this meeting. Where are the charges against her? Where are the charges? She lied. So any type of immunity she was given should have been blown out the window, and she lied. She's not being prosecuted for it. You and I both know you sneeze wrong these days, this administration goes after you. You look at somebody cross-eyed, and they'll kidnap you, right? Off the street. So where is the prosecution of Ghislaine Maxwell for violating the terms of her immunity deal that she had with the DOJ? It's because this was performative. There was no substantive value for this whatsoever.
Yeah, except to distract the public.
And Don, can I add that Prosecution 101, I've sat down with more aspiring cooperating witnesses than I could ever count. That was my stock and trade. I actually loved working with cooperating witnesses as a career prosecutor because they were my de facto expert witnesses on crime. They were living that life, and I had to impress upon them to tell me the truth, and then I would try to use them against bigger criminal fish. Here's the first thing you do with anybody in Ghislaine Maxwell's situation when you're sitting down to debrief her or do sometimes what we call a reverse proffer. I say the first thing you have to do is admit to all of your own crimes to me, right here, right now. Because if you can't accept responsibility for your own crimes, I can't believe you on what you say about anybody else, whether you incriminate them or exonerate them. First, you have to fess up, and that will be a indication that you are really willing to tell the truth. And Don, that shouldn't have been a heavy lift for Ghislaine Maxwell because she's already convicted of these crimes. She could have easily said, okay, I did the things that a jury found beyond a reasonable doubt unanimously that I did. But if you don't fess up to your own crimes, you are dead to me as a potential operating witness, because I will not believe anything you say about the crimes of others.
Okay, here's the thing that they wanted. Todd Blanch asking her about Donald Trump and anything that might be inappropriate behavior that she witnessed here.
I don't recall ever seeing him in his house, for instance. I actually never saw the president in any type of massage setting. I never witnessed the president in any inappropriate setting in any way. The president was never inappropriate with anybody. In the times that I was with him, he was a gentleman in all respects.
With Liberty Mutual.
Like the video, fair use. Continue to hit the subscribe button, everyone, and thank you. There's about 130 people in the building. If you didn't hit the subscribe button, please hit the subscribe button. We're trying to hit 50K by next month. Thank you for subscribing, if you already did, and thank you for hitting the like button.
How does that in and of itself not discredit her testimony? Just that, first of all, she refers to him as the president, Don.
Right.
Okay? That honorific, that title suggests a level of respect that she has for him. In fact, she spends a lot of time talking about how much she likes and admires him for what he's accomplished. She has such a bias that she would be laughed out of court if she was trying to be presented as a witness. But what do you mean you didn't see him do anything inappropriate in front of you? I don't know, could he have been doing shit that was inappropriate behind a closed door that you weren't in? Of course he could, right? The reality is it could be any of them. She not only deals with Trump, she talks about Prince Andrew not doing anything wrong. She says Alan Dershowitz didn't do anything wrong. Look, I'm not saying they did. I'm not saying they didn't. How about we actually look at the Epstein files that is a part of the law enforcement's in Donald Trump's DOJ's care, custody, and control and possession. Why don't we look at that and make a decision on our own? Why is this woman the only filter right now that is being provided to the American people about what's contained or what is the history that surrounds the horrific acts of child sex predation, child sex trafficking, child sex abuse that she was convicted for and that Epstein was indicted for?
And Don, if I can ask, what is inappropriate behavior to somebody like Ghislaine Maxwell, who recruits, grooms, and sexually assaults children and gives those children to Jeffrey Epstein to sexually assault? You're going to ask her, did you ever see Trump do anything inappropriate? I mean, I would have to nail her down and say, Ms. Maxwell, in your opinion, is it inappropriate to recruit, groom, and sexually assault young women? Because that's what you did. You're convicted of doing. You don't ask questions like, what does a witness believe subjectively is appropriate is not appropriate. I mean, again, this is just, this isn't even an interrogation. It's like a chat between a couple of, acquaintances.
Here is the president now, Donald Trump, today speaking out about this Epstein stuff being released. Here it is.
Your Justice Department is also sending some of the Epstein files over to the House Oversight Committee today. Are you in support of them releasing all of them?
Keeping it open. Innocent people shouldn't be hurt, but I'm in support of keeping it totally open. I couldn't care less. You got a lot of people that could be mentioned in those files that don't deserve to be. People, because he knew everybody at Palm Beach. I don't know anything about that, but I have said to Pam and everybody else, give them everything you can give them, because it's a Democrat hoax. It's just a hoax. The whole Epstein thing is a Democrat hoax. So we had the greatest 6 months, 7 months in the history of the presidency, and the Democrats don't know what to do, so they keep bringing up that stuff. But it affected them. Bill Clinton.
I want you guys to pay close attention to this, because this reeks of hypocrisy and just disingenuity. He says, I don't want to hurt these people, but yet he brings them up and he mentions them, right? Keep going.
We've almost made our goal for today. If I can please get 30 people to hit the subscribe button, we'll meet the goal for today. If I can get 30 people to hit the subscribe button, we will meet the goal for today. Please hit the subscribe button and thank you. Continue to hit the like button and thank you. The like should match the views. Please continue to double tap the screen. Hit the thumbs up above the video, below the video. 30 people to please hit the subscribe button and thank you. If you've already hit subscribe, let's continue. Fair use, reaction clip.
Bill Clinton was on his plane and went to the island supposedly 28 times. I don't want to bring that up.
But he
continues to bring it up.
Did he not just bring it up?
He continues to bring it up.
Okay, keep going.
The head of Harvard, who was Jeffrey Epstein's best friend. Nobody ever talks about that. But I don't want to hurt Larry Summers. Best friends with Jeffrey Epstein. No, this is a Democratic hoax to try and get the significance of what we've done over the past 7 months. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. If they say it's #1 in history, what we've done, including stop.
No one has ever seen anything like rounding up people on the streets without due process, defying federal judges, laying off career people, brain draining our institutions of decades and decades of knowledge and historic information. No one has seen anything like this. Just people, the lies that come out of this administration. So yeah, he's right about that one thing. Sorry, I have to just say, go on.
7 wars. I mean, just include that.
How many? How many
wars? He says now. It was. I think it was 6. Then it was 7. It was 8. And I think it was 10 one day. Anyways, go on. You guys have the floor.
I want to highlight something here, and I think Glenn, you would.
He's like, I don't even want to talk about what.
I just cannot. You know what it is, Don? You know what's triggering me right now is that fucking hat. I want to take that fucking shove it down his throat. Okay, so here's the thing. In the transcript, Ghislaine Maxwell
like the video. She is not happy.
Admits that she has, quote, slow cognition issues. Okay? Now, when you are dealing with witnesses, and Glenn dealing with flip co-defendants and all this other stuff, right? People who turn state witness or turn government, right? If somebody admittedly has slow cognition issues, we're going to have to pump the brakes now and talk about the value of this person. Why? Because what is your ability to recall, Ms. Maxwell? What's your ability to be able to remember? What's your ability to be able to process? I mean, she, by her own admission, has these slow cognition issues, 1. And then 2, but she conveniently knows that she's square. Jeffrey Epstein has erectile dysfunction, and she was happy not to have sex because she has a condition that made it okay for her not to have sex.
Wow.
The most ridiculous thing. So Epstein couldn't have perpetrated crimes because he had erectile dysfunction. And by the way, I didn't have to have sex, which means I, of course, would never be a child sex predator myself or a child sex abuser. And by the way, nobody did anything wrong ever. The most insulting thing about the Department of Justice is how it continues to perpetuate a lack of respect for the victims, not just the Epstein-Maxwell victims, but all victims of sexual assault, the survivors. Because how can you dare let this woman say that people have lied? People who have taken their lives, that they were liars? She said they all lied. She called them liars, Dawn. And that is disgusting, that the only thing that has come out of this Department of Justice has been a memo of lies from July 6th where they said there's nothing here, so we're not giving you anything. And now we're giving you transcripts that have been redacted. And you thought you were doing them a favor by redacting their names? But then you let this woman have audio and written transcripts that say that these victims all lied? It just goes to show how much this administration is willing to debase itself in furtherance of its dear cult leader. And Trump standing there saying, I don't have a problem with it, then let it out, asshole. But he won't. If he does, it's going to be in a form that is going to be all disjointed. And Comer's going to sit there, and he's already decided to whitewash it himself as well. It is such a travesty of justice. And the fact that it comes from the Department of Justice is the worst pill to swallow.
And there's a pattern here, Don, because I know we're going to talk about maybe the transcripts, the grand jury transcripts in both the Epstein and Maxwell cases. And we have 3 federal judges not only shooting down Pam Bondi's motion to unseal those transcripts, but saying some variation of, look, Pam, you all are engaged in a diversion. You are saying that there's something in these transcripts that would be new or enlightening when you know full well
there's nothing.
The only transcript,
right? Well, that they weren't going to release them, Glenn?
Yeah, of course they do. They make these motions as a show. Do you really think? Because Pam Bondi would have read that transcript forward and backwards, 70 pages, 1 grand jury transcript in the Epstein investigation in New York. It was an FBI agent relating nothing but hearsay. Not a single witness, not a single victim appeared before the grand jury. And the judge said there's nothing in here that is not already known to the public as a result of the Maxwell trial. So, and I think one of the phrases was false, misleading arguments to the court and stop, Judge Engelmayer said, trying to give the illusion of transparency when all you're doing,
Like the video, fair use reaction clip.
Heavy lift for Ghislaine Maxwell because she's already convicted of these crimes. She could have easily said, okay, I did the things that a jury found beyond a reasonable doubt unanimously that I did. But if you don't fess up to your own crimes, you are dead to me as a potential cooperating witness, because I will not believe anything you say about the crimes of others.
Okay, here's the thing that they wanted. Todd Blanch asking her about Donald Trump and anything that might be inappropriate behavior that she witnessed here.
I don't recall ever seeing him in his house, for instance. I actually never saw the president in any type of massage setting. I never witnessed the president in any inappropriate setting in any way. The president was never inappropriate with anybody. In the times that I was with him, he was a gentleman in all respects.
How does that in and of itself not discredit her testimony? Just that, first of all, she refers to him as the president, Don.
Right, right.
Okay, that honorific, that title suggests a level of respect that she has for him. In fact, she spends a lot of time talking about how much she likes and admires him for what he's accomplished. She has such a bias that she would be laughed out of court if she was trying to be presented as a witness. But what do you mean you didn't see him do anything inappropriate in front of you? I don't know, could he have been doing shit that was inappropriate behind a closed door that you weren't in? Of course he could, right? The reality is it could be any of them. She not only deals with Trump, she talks about Prince Andrew not doing anything wrong. She says Alan Dershowitz didn't do anything wrong. Look, I'm not saying they did. I'm not saying they didn't. How about we actually look at the Epstein files? That is a part of the law enforcement's in Donald Trump's DOJ's care, custody, and control and possession. Why don't we look at that and make a decision on our own? Why is this woman the only filter right now that is being provided to the American people about what's contained or what is the history that surrounds the horrific acts of child sex predation, child sex trafficking, child sex abuse that she was convicted for and that Epstein was indicted for?
And Don, if I can ask, what is inappropriate behavior to somebody like Ghislaine Maxwell, who recruits, grooms, and sexually assaults children and gives those children to Jeffrey Epstein to sexually assault? You're going to ask her, did you ever see Trump do anything inappropriate? I mean, I would have to nail her down and say, Ms. Maxwell, in your opinion, is it inappropriate to recruit, groom, and sexually assault young women? Because that's what you did. You're convicted of doing. You don't ask questions like, what does a witness believe subjectively is appropriate is not appropriate. I mean, again, this is just, this isn't even an interrogation. It's like a chat between a couple of, acquaintances.
Here is the president now, Donald Trump, today speaking out about this Epstein stuff being released. Here it is.
Your Justice Department is also sending some of the Epstein files over to the House Oversight Committee today. Are you in support of them releasing all of them?
Innocent people shouldn't be hurt, but I'm in support of keeping it totally open. I couldn't care less. You got a lot of people that could be mentioned in those files that don't deserve to be. People, because he knew everybody at Palm Beach. I don't know anything about that, but I have said to Pam and everybody else, give them everything you can give them, because it's a Democrat hoax. It's just a hoax. The whole Epstein thing is a Democrat hoax. So we had the greatest 6 months, 7 months history of the presidency, and the Democrats don't know what to do, so they keep bringing up that stuff. But it affected them. Bill Clinton.
This is. I want you guys to pay close attention to this, because this reeks of hypocrisy and just disingenuity. He says, I don't want to hurt these people, but yet he brings them up and he mentions them, right? Keep going.
Bill Clinton was on his plane and went to the Isles 28 times. I don't want to bring that up. You have Larry Barber, his name is.
Did he not just bring it up? Did he not just bring it up?
I don't want to bring up the thing I just brought up.
Okay, keep going.
The head of Harvard, who was Jeffrey Epstein's best friend. Nobody ever talks about that. But I don't want to hurt Larry Summers. He's best friends with Jeffrey Epstein. No, this is a Democratic hoax to try and get the significance of what we've done over the past 7 months. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. They say it's #1 in history. What we've done, including stop.
No one has ever seen anything like rounding up people on the streets without due process, defying federal judges, laying off career people, brain draining our institutions of decades and decades of knowledge and historic information. No one has seen anything like this. Just people, the lies that come out of this administration. So yeah, he's right about that one thing. Sorry, I had to just say, go on.
7 wars. Just include that.
How many? How
7
many
wars, he says now. I think it was 6, then it was 7, it was 8, and I think it was 10 one day.
Can I get 30 more people to hit the like button? 30 more people to hit the like button.
I want to highlight something here, and I think, Glenn, you would.
He's like, I don't even want to talk about what.
I just cannot. You know what it is, Don? You know what's triggering me right now is that fucking hat. I want to take that fucking hat and shove it down his throat. Okay, so here's the thing. In the transcript, Ghislaine Maxwell admits that she has, quote, slow cognition issues. Okay? Now, when you are dealing with witnesses, and Glenn dealing with flipped co-defendants and all this other stuff, right? People who turn state witness or turn government, right? If somebody admittedly has slow cognition issues, we're going to have to pump the brakes now and talk about the value of this person. Why? Because what is your ability to recall, Ms. Maxwell? What's your ability to be able to remember? What's your ability to be able to process? I mean, she, by her own admission, has these slow cognition issues, one, and then two, but she conveniently knows that she's square. Jeffrey Epstein has erectile dysfunction, and she was happy not to have sex because she has a condition that made it okay for her not to have sex. It is the most ridiculous thing. So Epstein couldn't have perpetrated crimes because he had erectile dysfunction. And by the way, I didn't have to have sex, which means I, of course, would never be a child sex predator myself or a child sex abuser. And by the way, nobody did anything wrong ever. The most insulting thing about the Department of Justice is how it continues to perpetuate a lack of respect for the victims, not just the Epstein-Maxwell victims, but all victims of sexual assault, the survivors. Because how can you dare let this woman say that people have love?
Okay, everyone, thanks for tuning in on a Saturday morning. Have a great day. Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comments, news reporting. Everyone have a great day. Be blessed. Goodbye.